see this ad for everything's about some new drug that's going to help you out. And they always come with the disclaimers that feature hideous warnings while being mumbled, and they take up about half the ad about the side effects and the possible negative implications of taking this drug on a regular basis. Meanwhile, the woman is walking through a field of butterflies. She's blowing bubbles, walking a little puppy on a rope because she just took 2 pills and got over lifelong depression. Incredible. But the Jardiance ad, have you seen that? Jardiance, I believe it's a diabetes medication. And they got this big fat chick who gets off a train and immediately is leading 25 to 30 people in singing songs about how wonderful the effects are of Jardiance. And I'm thinking the last time I saw a drug like that was when we had Dennis Rodman doing shows at that Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar right on the beach here in Fort Lauderdale. And he was like gargling with Goldschlager. Yes, he was pretty much out of his mind the entire time. And one night he comes on our show, and I've never seen a guy happier in my life. And I thought, whatever drug this guy's on, I want some of that.
Yes.
I don't know that Jardiance gives you that kind of a feeling, but you would assume that it just was a key to happiness, that as soon as you started guzzling a bunch of Jardiance pills out of this bottle, that you were going to be happy and your diabetes was going to disappear, or would get to the point where you just didn't fucking care about possible complications and the implications of having this hideous disease. Unbelievable, right? So we have to get rid of that.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
They always give you that look when they give you the number, right? You're probably not there yet, Lubie. Have you ever been diagnosed as being even close to borderline diabetic? You're too young. You're not one of these guys that's been overweight your entire life.
My cholesterol was always bad growing up, but I've always monitored stuff enough that my numbers are always good.
Usually when you go to your primary care person, they get the blood test results. They say, well, you had like a 5.7 there. And I'm thinking, well, is that good? I mean, what are we talking about here? Figure skating? And they then give you that look and they go, well, I mean, you're not there yet, but awfully close to being a diabetic. And that comes with some just horrific consequences. So you want to dodge that if you can do it. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. I don't know, does Jardiance keep you from becoming a diabetic, or is it just a way of maybe handling it once you get there?
That's my thing with all these drugs is they don't actually explain. Like, to me, they say their name and they say the ailment they're attached to, but they don't say what the fuck. Like, is it preventative? Is it once you have the thing? And they always make it seem so glowing.
I think it helps you manage the fact that you're about to die.
Exactly. They always make it seem so glowing and happy, and then they always have that fucking disclaimer at the end that's like an hour and a half, and you can't read any of it, and it's like, so what am I supposed to follow with this?
For 42 diabetics are standing around a fountain like they were at Hialeah Park by the Citation statue, and they're all dancing up and down. Hey, yeah, we take this shit. That's great. There are other drugs that used to do that for me, and there still are some. I don't know that I've gotten to that point, like we were talking about with Dennis Rodman. I wish I knew what it was that he was on that night, Lubie. Do you remember that? Have you ever seen a guy happier than Dennis Rodman was? It was almost as if he found out, I don't know if he cares about this, that his daughter is now the highest paid salaried player in the Professional Women's Soccer League. How about that, Jim Sarney?
That's
unbelievable.
Really?
Highest paid player. She just negotiated some new contract. I think she's making like $250 a year or something, and that's like the highest salary in the Professional Women's Soccer League. No wonder Megan Rapinoe never went into that, right? Probably making more as an amateur. Unbelievable. All right, welcome to the show. Good to have you guys with us. We're going to go old school later on with Tony Segreto. And that's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie. Lubitz here. Bad night for the locals last night, Lubie. I don't know if you tuned into any of this action. I was surprised. I didn't even realize, I hadn't checked the schedule of events, that both the Panthers last night were in action at home against the Boston Bruins. The Bruins always pack the house with many of their own fans. You wouldn't have known who the favorite team was in that game. You would have thought that we were in Beantown.
Really? There was that many?
Yeah. It wasn't, just diabolically bad like it usually is with the South Florida franchise where the visiting team has more fans than the home team.
Yeah.
And when the team's playing well, I mean, you would have to think that the whole house would have been Boston fans if the Panthers were at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah.
But these are two really good teams. Turned out to be a dynamite game as the Panthers took a 3-2 lead in the third period. And then unfortunate circumstance for them. One of their players flipped a puck into the stands accidentally. Delay of game penalty resulted. and the Bruins were able to capitalize on the power play. They tie it up 3-3, and then shortly after score what turned out to be the game-winning goal. So the Panthers go down to the Boston Bruins, who now, I mean, this is a tough back-to-back, Lubie. If you were going to make a wager, would you be inclined to go with the Boston Bruins going to Tampa tonight? Tampa Red Hot.
Geez, really?
Tampa Red Hot, only a slight favorite over the Boston Bruins. Now, I was just reading a very eloquently written, and of course, this is part of what used to be the Brent Musburger Bury America campaign, and it's now a clip from Action Sports. It's their top play, written by a guy named Michael LaBeouf. Michael LaBeouf, who very eloquently writes about these circumstances and the wagering opportunities in front of you. And he says to play the Bruins tonight, laying a 105, minus 105, so 105 to win 100 on the Boston Bruins to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are in the midst and the throes of a red-hot streak where they've put themselves back on the map as a possible, do we dare say it, Stanley Cup contender, Lubie?
Oh, maybe. I mean, yeah, that point-wise way out there. But
playoff tested. They're playoff tested.
They are very playoff tested. Yes.
Their guy Nikita Khrushchev there, Kucherov, he's just been dynamite all season long. And after getting off to a real, you would have to say, so beginning to the season. Not just beginning. I mean, like halfway through the season, the Lightning were what? They were a shell of their former selves, Lubie.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were playing so well. Because you haven't
playing great of late and beating good teams in the process. So would you take a shot? This guy says go ahead and take the Bruins, but is that not a real tough back-to-back? You play a bloodbath game last night, sorry, Donald, against the Panthers, and it was a well-played game. And now you have to turn right around the next night, the Sunshine Double Air, and go up to Tampa to beat the Lightning on their home ice. Very prohibitive, my friend. Be tempted to go against this guy and take the.
I would go Lightning. Yeah, I'd go Lightning there. I look. I mean, it's not like it's the most travel to go from South Florida to Tampa is not bad, and they could have done it last night and gotten in plenty of time and all that, or even this morning, I guess. But it's
grueling. I would think
back to back. I mean, on the road, it just
back to back on the road against two good teams.
Yeah, I would lean Lightning in that one.
I'm leaning big Lightning in that one at minus 115.
Yeah, the Lightning are physical and they're good on offense.
I say they blow them out.
Yeah, I wouldn't go Bruins. And Bruins may win. Obviously, it's fucking hockey, but I wouldn't lean that way.
Flat as a Parisian runway model tonight. That's what's going to happen, man. They'll be smoking cigars in Ybor City. They'll be eating Cuban sandwiches all day long. They'll get to the ice, be very lethargic, and quite satisfied that they won outright in regulation against the Panthers last night. Bruins are fucked. Tampa Bay Lightning, minus 115. There you have it. That's our super gold seal double lock wheel of the century.
Did it.
All right, so there'll be losers tonight. You can almost bank on that. I didn't win the Mega Millions, Lubie. I don't know. Did you play? I bought $10 worth of tickets. I was on my walk of life. I went to this decrepit little shop that nobody goes in because everything's overpriced, even though the owner is a very nice guy. But he's got does it boil down to location? If you're in one of these hotels and you're a vacationer, and you need something along the lines of convenience store type of items, which the guy does have an expanded sort of horizon of the typical convenience store. Actually has some really good sandwiches. Even a nice enough guy. He offered me one last night because he said, he's going to have to toss them out. I guess they make some fresh sandwiches every day and they don't keep them around. And as I was leaving, if I wasn't in the midst of my walk of life, I would have grabbed a couple of meatball subs off this guy.
Yeah, why not?
Very nice. But I go in there to buy Mega Millions tickets. And I already, my entire 4+ miles, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with the money, Lubie. Okay. Do you do that? Do you ever fantasize about that? I assumed I was going to be a winner. I had my speech already prepared. I'm going to say something along the lines when I comp like $500 million one day at the offices when they do the interview and, look right into the camera and say, I think that gets me just about even for life. I don't think you wouldn't want anybody to know. How would you handle this, Lubie? I mean, what do you do with the ticket? You found out, you went to bed last night, you woke up this morning, you looked at the winning Mega Millions numbers, you have the winning ticket. What do you do with that ticket right away?
I'd be stressing it out.
Who do you tell? I mean, do you let out a blood-curdling scream?
My parents, and that's about it. I mean, maybe Shirley's parents. I wouldn't. You can't. That's because that's the problem is once people know, they never leave you the fuck alone. So. Like, there's supposedly a science to it, the way you're supposed to handle it. Give whoever you want to give them a certain amount of flat money. Tell them that's all you're giving them. and
nobody accepts that, Louis.
That's on them, though. You can feel like, because a lot of times it's people feel guilty and they feel bad. If you
Yeah.
did your part, I don't feel guilty. Like if I gave you what I told you I was going to give you, then I did my job, and you go do. If you fucking lose it on some stupid ass scheme, that's your bad. That's not mine. Because that's the problem is they keep giving this money and that money and this money. So a lot of the time when people win these ridiculous amounts of money, they're still broke years later, which I still don't understand.
I can't imagine. That's a tough one. That's like trying to figure out how Mike Tyson went through $300 million. But we all know what the story was there, right? Robin Gibbons, Ruth Roper.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Still, I will always have a vision of Tyson looking catatonic on that couch with Barbara Walters, as these women are literally, I mean, just annihilating him from emasculating this guy like you've never seen. They may as well have just chopped his pecker off right there on the couch. And Tyson's there like the most ferocious guy on the planet, man. He looked like Jack Nicholson in Cuckoo's Nest after they gave him a couple of the electroshock treatments. Just like catatonic out of it. But how did he go through the $300 million? That was a lot of money to disperse in a short period of time. I would go Hannibal Lecter. I think just disappear into maybe some situation where you got a place picked out on the Amalfi Coast there in Italy, and you never contact anybody ever again. That would be good. Trust fund for the grandchildren, and of course my son and his lovely wife, and take care of the Mustang. Thanks. Here's $200 million.
I love that you leave.
Wouldn't that be your first move? Was to leave your spouse?
No, do it together. But
you would stay together with your wife?
Yes, wow. I'm not with her because of money.
Could have any chick, man. You're out there on your yacht. You're Mike Lubie Lubitz. You're like that Balfour guy, in Wolf of Wall Street, who we've spoken with, and he says that most of that shit was true, which was pretty amazing, that the drugs might have been exaggerated a little bit. Nobody could do the quaaludes that this guy was doing.
That's it. And when they were like popping it, in the middle of the day, they would just be popping drugs and then still doing their job. Like,
it was great in that movie, Matthew McConaughey playing like the strange Wall Street guy who was obviously burnt out, and wired on the Wall Street dream. He was hysterical in that thing. That was a well done movie. I've been seeing a lot of it lately, so I've been watching scenes. But
it's really
Wolf
good.
of Wall Street, not a bad flick at all. And who is it? Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill was the real lunatic. Yep,
that guy's good. Yeah, no, he's real good. He's playing a variety of different roles as that guy, but well acted all the way through. And what do you think of DiCaprio? Well, in general,
DiCaprio, was great.
Very good actor. No,
I like DiCaprio. I don't have.
Yeah, makes good movies. This cat. Unbelievable. All right. Bad night for the local teams. You had the Panthers go down. We're not worried about the Panthers, are we? We're okay.
I don't know. They're playing worse lately. It feels like I don't know if they're filling their oats. Their defense late. Look, they did it with the Rangers. They had a lead late, and they gave up the lead and then lost. Like you don't want this to become a theme. Like we've seen the really good teams the last few years struggle in the playoffs. Like you don't want that to be you. You finally got to that place. You don't want to start feeling your oats. Like, and that was the one good thing about them was their defense was strong. They were playing good on goaltend. The goaltending was strong, and then they also could score. Their like the way that game went, they got up 2-1, then they allowed it to 2-2. Okay, they got up 3-2, then they allowed it to get to 3-3, I guess, with the penalty. And then 2 minutes later, it goes 4-3 with 2 minutes left in the game at home.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Like you don't lose that game. The Heat.
He'd get blown out last night, but they didn't have anybody on the floor. Again, they're missing Butler. They're missing Kevin Love. They're missing
Hero, Robinson,
Richardson.
It's just
and Robinson. Wow, their whole starting five was pretty much on the bench.
And what's funny is, and I give Bam a lot of credit, they had a lead at half. That's what's weird about the Pelicans game.
Well, Golden State's, they're very much a fringe team. They're sitting there, number 10, and there's a good chance they get knocked out of the playoffs altogether, in spite of the fact that ESPN would have you believe they're in first place.
Yeah, exactly.
But Houston has won 9 in a row and is tracking right in there behind them. Now just one game back for the 10th qualifying position for the postseason. So that would mean no Steph Curry. They'll find a way to get Golden State in there.
They're trying. I mean, look, they have their whole team, and they won by double. Like ended up being by 21.
Yeah.
But I just, to me, I don't know what the Heat. I don't know I just don't know what's going on. Like by this point, Butler literally was playing games. He was starting to play good again. I was like, okay, they would have kicked the Warriors' ass if they had their team last night. Like they were in it until you could just tell the Warriors had their whole team and they were missing 5 dudes. At some point, like
you're getting beaten by Kayvon Looney. It looks like Wilt.
You get overwhelmed and you just can't hang. Like I don't know what they're doing. Like Butler, literally they listed it as illness. What fucking illness? He was out like the night before. There's videos of him like hanging out. He was playing the game before, and then suddenly just misses a game. Like there's 10 games left. They're only a game out of the 6. Like what to me, as long as they're anywhere from 1 to 6, they have a really good shot to do some interesting things in the playoffs. You don't want to be in the playing again. It's an extra 1 to 2 games. Like you don't want that. Yeah, it worked last year for whatever the fuck reason, but that's not a look at FAU. It's not the putting your back against the wall strategy is not an overwhelming success.
No, usually that team gets thumped. They don't make it to the NBA Finals. That was a very improbable run by the Miami Heat last year. And, like we saw, as you said, good reference, FAU. Did you not have a feeling that was not happening again in spite of the rhetoric that was going on before the season? That, whoa, look at this, man. They brought everybody back except for like 1 or 2 guys.
No, they're resting on
which was great. They did, but they weren't as good. And they got into a different conference. They got throttled a little bit there.
Yep.
Even the games they won towards the end of the regular season, they were very suspect in all of these games. It wasn't like they were a dominating force, which they were at times when they were rattling off the 21 wins in a row last year. That was great. But like with I mean, was there not a lot of optimism about the University of Miami coming into the season? They had a disastrous, catastrophic season where people were starting to think maybe Jim Larinaga doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it was
unbelievable.
Bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of faith that the Heat will rally somehow, but they don't appear to have a championship team. They didn't last year, and ultimately they did not win the championship, in spite of the fact that we would like to see them carry off to Larry O'Brien. They weren't nearly as good as the Denver Nuggets.
No, the Nuggets, they weren't on the same level. But my problem with the Heat is I don't know what team they have. I actually, if they had their entire healthy team, which the rest of the East is finally getting,
yes,
I'd put them up with anyone, because whenever they've had close to their healthy team, they played well against everyone. My problem is they haven't had Hero, Bam, and Butler haven't played together the entire year. And it feels like Hero's, a lot of people are speculating that Hero's actually out for the year. They're just not saying it. Okay, with what?
Very mysterious injury. Lower body injury. They're doing it like hockey.
Like he didn't tear an ACL or
they don't give you a body part.
Like he's only played 30-something games. What does he have that allowed him at 25, 23, play less than 40 games?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with him? Like, and that's the problem, is at some point that stuff does catch up with you. Like it just does. And the Jimmy Butler, he's not the competitive guy that
what happened to him?
He was.
Did he lose his competitive drive?
I don't know. I really don't know, because the fact that he's one of every like 4 games he just misses. Come on, like, it's not injury. He's just missing games. You're in your last 10 games. He
became Kawhi.
Yes, but Kawhi at least had major injury issues in his career. Butler hasn't.
No,
I don't know what Butler is.
And you need him to be that sort of driving force, catalyst leader like Brunson has been with the Knicks, where you're saying, wait a minute, if that guy is going to play his eyeballs out like that, even in a losing effort, even in a game that appears to be hopelessly lost in the fourth quarter, he's still hustling. If you're going to set that kind of Heat culture example, I mean, I think it's been said many, many times and written about. I'm sure Dave Hyde has addressed this. Jimmy Butler has been anointed from the time that he was acquired to be that guy.
Yes.
And if he's going to kind of lollygag his way through the season, it's like, you know what, you're doing shows for years and years, and then you go through a period of time where you ask yourself, hey, am I mailing it in? What the fuck am I doing? Right? And you have to sort of re-examine yourself and say, hey, I need to put more effort into this. Otherwise, it's going to become obvious to people that I just don't give a shit anymore. And I don't know that that's the case with Jimmy Butler, but he would be a difficult guy to read anyway, Lubie.
Yes.
The one thing that you anticipate with him and where he sort of was philosophically, I guess, throughout his tenure here with the Heat, he came here because he wanted to be challenged and he wanted to prove that he could be a guy that could carry a team. And then this year, his approach does not seem to reflect that kind of determination and intensity, right? Pat Riley needs to get in this guy's ear, but it seems like they're a little afraid to ruffle feathers with Jimmy Butler.
Because that's the thing. In years past, it actually felt like he did have injuries. He is a physical dude who's probably undersized for the way he plays. So he would miss games, but it felt like he was legitimately injured. They would name the injury, and he'd be out. Then he'd come back and play. You're right. This year, it feels different. This year, it feels like he's intermittently just missing games. And it's like it is the Kawhi Paul George thing where it's like, why is he out now? Not playing now. Like, and it's the day of the game. Like, people are assuming he's playing, and then he magically isn't playing. Like, so that's when you're like, okay, is he?
No, it's weird, right? When you look at the box score and you see like all of these guys were out. And
They're all hurt.
no
Like,
Butler, no
Robinson's
Richardson,
hurt,
no
Love's
Robinson,
hurt, Richardson's
Tyler
hurt.
Hero. Pretty
The
incredible.
Hero and Butler are the two that I don't understand. The other three are actually hurt. Robinson, believe me, he wants to be out there. He was actually becoming a key cog. It's funny with just Robinson last night, they may have actually won, considering he plays really well with Bam. And when these guys are out, this year has become like their fourth or fifth best player. It's just you can't have that many guys injured this late in the year and play decent teams. The Warriors are still decent. They have talent. Like
should you have printed on the ticket and the desire to be transparent that you're buying a ticket tonight to see Golden State play Sioux Falls?
Yes, it was really what the team was. He would Highsmith and like all the Jamal Cain. I'm like,
like you may as well be in the Dakotas, my friend.
I'm like, what is happening?
All right, and Tony's going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. Tony Segreto, a little old school with Tony Segreto coming up, and I would imagine he'd have some thoughts on this. As why don't we bring Tony into the equation right now here? Because we always love Tony. Oh my God! See, this makes me feel good about humanity. It does, Tony. Seeing you looking so good and so distinguished after a brilliant career, which is still ongoing here, and you're always doing something. And good to have you on the program, Tony. How are you feeling, man? Where are you at?
Nice to be here. I'm home.
You look like you got a little sun, man. You look good.
Feel good. Feel strong, and making it every day. Making it every day. How are you? How are you, Defo and Lubie?
Good morning, sir. I'm good.
Lubie's good. Have you noticed that Lubie is really like looking more distinguished than he has at any time?
Okay.
During the whole streaming era.
It's changed.
Yeah. Now, when we were doing radio together, and you saw him during these periods of time, he appeared to be, sort of Meshuggah. He looked a lot like, I don't know if you know this character actor, Vincent Schiavelli, one of my favorites. He's a tall guy, and what was he in? Old School. That was a big movie for him, I think. And of course, what was it?
Ghost.
Night Shift. Remember the Night Shift? He was the guy with the sandwich that he put on, the mustard on the wall. But Lubie used to look like that. And now, I mean, I think Shirley got to you, Lubie. She must have said, hey, listen, if you're going to be on video, you may as well look good.
I wouldn't doubt it.
He's got sun.
He looks good, though, man. I mean, he really does. No, we're good. We're good, Tony. Everybody's really happy. I mean, a lot of exciting stuff going on. This was one of those periods of time, and you can really relate to this because there was a period of time in Miami where the sports scene really was like these sort of ancillary events, like the Miami Open is here, and people were looking forward to Grand Prix, and the golf circuit had been down here already, although there's only one tournament now, and there wasn't a whole lot going on the professional scene. And so now we have both. Because you still have these events going on. Miami Open has been fantastic. Many people have defected from it. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm happy that Stephen Ross picked this thing up and that they went ahead and made these moves to keep the event here. I mean, I know it's not as nice as Key Biscayne, but what the fuck? These are the best players in the world. They're fantastic, both the men and the women here at the same time for essentially, what would be just off being a major tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They have transformed the Hard Rock Stadium into a unique venue. They have they got satellite courts outside.
Yeah,
I think they've hit a home run. And despite the fact that there are naysayers, I'm all for it. I applaud Stephen Ross. That's one of the few things I applaud him on, but I applaud Stephen Ross.
You're not a Stephen Ross fan?
Yeah, I am. It's just he's got so many things in a fire that what's going to take up his time. And,
if you think about it, though, I mean, it wouldn't have been uncommon to take what is now Hard Rock Stadium and sort of start to intimate that maybe it was obsolete, that they needed to do something new, start crying for a new stadium already. But what he's done there with, I mean, when you go there, it's sort of fascinating, right? He's got a whole tennis complex. Now they convert the stadium into the main court, but actually, for my, in my opinion, just from going there a few years and taking in the events, the last thing you want to be is in the stadium, even if the marquee matchup of that period of time, that session, is in the stadium. I think you're far better off as a tennis fan going to some of these side courts, just getting yourself a grounds pass, and it's still ongoing, but they're down to much more limited, players in the field since they're in the quarterfinals and the semis. But I mean, the stadium didn't really, from my perspective, convert well into a viewing place for tennis. But the rest of it's great.
It is so. I went there about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was like I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe what they had done already to that place.
Yeah.
So cheers.
And they got the Grand Prix circuit out there. That whole thing.
Cheers to him. Cheers to Stephen Ross. Yeah.
Now, is that him or is it Art Garfunkel that's doing all this?
I'm Garfunkel.
Is Ross just finding out after the fact, like Shohei Ohtani? Oh, by the way, my bank account was
Tim
freezed.
Garfunkel.
Tom Garfunkel.
Tom Garfunkel. Garfunkel.
Fucking Tom Garfunkel. Jesus
Garfunkel. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Anyway, Tony, so I'm glad you're a fan of that, and I want to get into this when we come back here, and we wanted to introduce Tony to you, and then we're going to take a brief time out, come back, and do a little old school with Tony Segreto. But opening day tomorrow, and I hate doing this kind of stuff, where and we did it for years on the radio about what a weak sports town this is, but I mean, literally, Tony, I have not seen or heard even the slightest rumblings about the Marlins opening up tomorall anywhere.
Who are they open up against?
Yeah,
I believe they play Pittsburgh. Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
The
I have no idea. I actually have no idea, and it's here. They're opening
here.
I didn't think until today.
It just hit me yesterday. I saw like a commercial for opening day. I'm like, opening day of what?
When?
So my Dade County Fair. What's opening up, man? Can I go get some? What are those things called?
Elephant ears.
Elephant ears. Elephant ears. You know what's good too, Tony? I don't know if this has any meaning to you, but that McDonald's is now going to be distributing and selling Krispy Kreme donuts. Just what you need.
I don't understand that at all. What does that mean?
You're slobbering down a Big Mac, which is putting you on the borderline of being a diabetic. And just to cement the thing, does that come with like some Jardiance also?
I was gonna say it should come with
There's a warning.
You just shovel down this horrible shit, and then you're going to have a Krispy Kreme donut to top it off?
Yeah, but is it going to be fresh?
A sugar bloodbath? My God. What kind of thing is that? Shouldn't like the Surgeon General weigh in? Where's C. Everett Koop when you need him?
You got a Surgeon General with you. Yeah,
they should. Shoot this down. There should be some congressional hearing. Refusing to do this.
First of all, you know what? I think it's a great idea.
You do? Okay.
First of all, you got to have some willpower involved. But Krispy Kreme, they're so scattered around.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Krispy Kremes. That's true. People love Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, because you die if you eat them. On the spot. You don't even make it out of the drive-thru. But isn't the essence of the Krispy Kreme donut getting them when they just come out of the oven?
Yeah. McDonald's they're not known for fresh. Like that was the one thing about Krispy Kreme is they're always turning over fresh donuts, and they have that freaking sign.
Exactly.
McDonald's going to have the hot now. Like, are they going to? I don't trust that. McDonald's.
They're going to look like those plutonium encased sandwiches that you see at like convenience stores, where you're like, really? How long has that been in there, sir?
I love going to Tallahassee. I think it's Tallahassee where it's all confined, all around the campus, and down the roads, a mile and a half, 2 miles is Krispy Kreme. So you go there, you get it hot and served hot, and then you go deliver it to the softball team, baseball team, whatever you do.
Kids can eat that stuff. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly the market that they should be hitting. I know. Is that what McDonald's is trying to attract, like more 18, 19-year-olds? Because that makes sense. I couldn't have a Krispy Kreme donut would literally put me in a body bag.
Oh, one Krispy Kreme donut.
Krispy Kreme donut. Just the thought of it, Tony. I mean, please. I have. Having seen many doctors over the last couple of months, more than I care to think about, you can see the look. As soon as you took that bite of the Krispy Kreme donut, where they give you that look like, do you intend to live long, Mr. DeForest?
I got to have a donut on the weekends.
Oh, yeah? But you can eat anything, Tony. That's the problem with you. You would have loved Lubie yesterday. He's eating these shrimp heads. Like the heads
They
of shrimp.
fry. It's like a delicacy. They fry the actual head,
Yeah, I know.
and you eat like the base. No, I didn't. You don't eat where the eyes are, but the base, and you suck, the juice because they cook it in.
Did
The
you eat the
butter.
eyeballs though? I mean, did you stuff
don't
that
eat
whole thing in
that
your
much.
face?
You just eat the base of the head. You don't eat the actual.
Naturally, you can imagine Mayo ate the
With
whole
the things.
fucking thing, Tony.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Eyeballs. See, anything that I am squeamish about putting on a hook, I'm not putting in my mouth. I don't know about you. I mean, but whenever I used to bait up a shrimp, I really, the whole thing with the head, you put the thing through the body, fortunately, but I couldn't see myself eating the head. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Tony?
I've eaten heads before, and
Okay.
Heads of shrimp? Oh, my God.
and in sushi, the way they fry it, the way
Yeah.
they do it,
Oh,
is really good.
Yeah, it was good.
I wish you were there yesterday, man. You would have really enjoyed this.
It was
Yeah.
like, it's like a French fry, right, Lubie?
Yes, it was actually a nice crisp, and there was a lot of flavor.
Yeah, a lot
At
of
that
flavor.
point, I'm eating the Krispy Kreme donut every time. All right, we're going to come back with more Tony Segreto. We'll get some thoughts about what's happening here at the local sports scene. And, of
We can
course,
bring up the Ohtani thing with him. I mean,
Ohtani, we got the
baseball and
NCAA
the-
tournament, all kinds
He
of stuff.
bets.
Yeah.
He bets.
And you're no doubt you're going to be our correspondent here to help satisfy our good friend Jim Sarney, who I didn't realize this guy was still like at Holy Cross Hospital, man.
He is?
yeah,
Yeah.
Like 3 weeks. 3 weeks is in the fucking
3 weeks, and I don't think he wants out.
That's
Did you
the
get that
problem.
impression, Lubie, that he doesn't really want to get out of there?
pitching
He
or
lo-
complaining.
He loves it.
He's fucking weird. Like
I think he's playing for the Holy Cross basketball team now.
just hanging out. It's so weird.
Oh, God.
No, we love the guy, but we do have to address. I mean, you would be more in tune with the women's NCAA tournament than
Yes.
we would. Although I have watched some of the action,
What's none?
and I'm amazed. Did Cheryl Miller re-sign with USC? When did they become good, Tony? They got this Juju Watkins.
USC is good this year.
USC, real good. They're like
USC.
they were the number 2 team in the country.
They're a 2 seed or a number.
Yeah.
1 seed.
They're a number 1 seed. And then they were ranked second in the country, I believe.
Oh wow.
Not too bad.
My wife and I had appointment television on Monday just to see them all play.
Oh wow.
Get out of here.
Good for you. Sound like Sarni.
Wow. Well, I mean, we pray to the God, Jim Sarney, that, we can cover this and give it the kind of justice that it deserves on the show. Because especially in Lubie's case, he feels there's a gender bias here that is enormous to the point of being repulsive and offensive. And
Like that
Now,
is
you guys, when it comes to women's sports, you guys tend to
see, now here's the thing, though. I'm a huge
was
women's
not
tennis
so bad.
fan. Yes.
it was
And I have watched some of this because I keep wanting it to get better.
none.
My issue, I feel like it's gotten
you
better.
keep
I mean,
comparing it to the men, and you can't compare it to the
I'm
men.
not really doing that. I'm comparing it with what it was in the past. Okay.
Entertainment.
And I will say this. I mean, we've seen it. We used to have this thing about your softball, your beloved softball. And I would have to say, man, women got so much better at playing this game. It's mind-boggling. You used to be lucky to find one girl who could catch without having the ball like bounce off her glove and hit her in the face. And now you feel bad. Oh, shit, I didn't mean to throw it like that, right? And now you see these girls diving like they were fucking Brooks Robinson, making backhand stabs down the line and then getting up and firing to, first base to get the out. Big time plays. I mean, you see them in the top plays on SportsCenter, and they're legitimate. It's not like you're being force-fed that. The only thing with me and the women's basketball and some of these things with Caitlin Clark and all the records is the depth isn't there. When you look at the men's tournament, you probably could have made a case for 20 of the teams to be the eventual winner, maybe even more. But with the women, there seems to be a big disparity between the teams at the top and then just like everybody else, like a big gap there.
But the disparity is negligible because you got to look at the top teams, and if the girls are doing everything they can do to promote it, they have their ratings have exploded exponentially to almost equal the men.
Yeah, why is that? Is that just better drugs around there? Because when pot became legal, people are watching like anything. There's something on there. I don't know what.
We take a break now.
I'm trying.
Yeah, that music's
We'll
been
be back
playing
right
well in
after
the
this.
background, Tony. But we love you so much. We love to tease you about this stuff. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Tony Segreto goes old school, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. You know what's great, too? I mean, that Mayo became, I mean, you know how pretentious he is.
Mayo.
It's a chain.
Yeah,
And then you
he's
brought him in there. You had him have an epiphany about this place. It was great.
He's on board. He's on
Yeah.
board, and it deservedly so.
They had him right away when they put that onion thing out there. That was it. And next thing you know, Ed Garcia is bringing out that giant burger after we'd already scarfed down like 12 pounds of meat.
12 dishes. Huh?
12 pounds of meat.
And he can't help but sing the praises of the place now, which you know how reluctant he is to go ahead and agree that you were onto something that he was unaware of.
Yeah,
He doesn't like that when it comes to food. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
looks like 8:43.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
I don't want to sicken Lubie with my baseball poetry. He used to be, you talk about repulsed, when I used to do the stupid shtick that I had for spring training when we were out there doing shows from the spring training site. But I am a big fan of baseball opening days, and I have many recollections. I used to look so forward to it when I was a diehard baseball fan. I couldn't wait. I loved the ceremony. I loved the introduction of the players. I really did. I loved everything about it, especially when I was selling the souvenirs at Shea Stadium, because the longer they took with the introductions, the more yearbooks I could unload before the game actually began.
Wouldn't you love to be in New York now for Yankees, or I don't know if they're home, but Yankees or Mets?
Yankees start on the road, I believe. And then their home opener is actually that third game that Marcus Stroman. And there was a lot of, I don't know if it was a lot of controversy, but it became a little bit of a topic in New York that Marcus Stroman, who just signed with the Yankees this year, and he was offered the chance to replace Garrett Cole as the opening day starter, which you would think would be a distinction that almost anybody would want to have in their memory book, if not on their resume. And he told Boone and Cashman that he didn't want to break away from the routine that he was in and mess up what it was that he was doing by making a start 2 days earlier than he was supposed to. So he declined the opportunity to go ahead and be the opening day starter. Can you imagine?
No.
They come to Whitey Ford and they say, hey, Whitey, you want to give it a go today, man? I know you're penciled in number 2 or whatever.
I'd rather wait 2 days.
And that's... What kind of routine could you be in that the 2-day differential would be that significant when it wasn't like you were in the season and you're already in the rotation and you know you're going to pitch every 5 days, so now they're trying to bump you up one. Okay, that could mess with your rhythm or whatever, or your ability to recover and go the distance and make the 35, 36 starts. But what's he doing now that would be so disruptive, Tony? I don't know. What do you think of that? But
I don't know.
He's going to end up being the home their home opener starter.
Maybe that's why.
No, that wasn't the reason. He just said that he didn't want to mess up his routine. And then supposedly Boone, I mean, you talk about a guy that is gutless when it comes to challenging players. Boone, and he's been widely criticized for that. He just doesn't hold players accountable. Giancarlo Stanton staring
He
at a
doesn't
fly
hold
ball.
he
Yeah.
doesn't hold any players responsible. I'm in a group chat with a bunch of major leaguers, and you should hear them talk about Ohtani. About
yeah. So what is
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on?
What do they think, man?
What are they
Sounds
saying?
like bullshit to me, Tony.
The whole thing sounds ludicrous at
Yeah.
this point.
bet. He
Oh,
bets.
all
He
in.
bets. He bets. He
Jesus.
bets. That's the plain and simple of it. And they're just sweeping it under the rug. They're making the interpreter the fall guy.
He's like Lee Harvey Oswald in this thing. He really is.
Yeah, he
Just a
is.
patsy. But it's unbelievable to me. I mean, we've dealt with bookies and people in collections in that line of work, and they're not extending some schmuck a $4.5 million line of credit. Now, we were talking about it, and some people were saying, "Oh, geez, you know what? They probably just figured they were going to have to eat it anyway, that the guy could never pay." But I can't imagine that this bookmaking ring could be too successful if they were going to have no loser be accountable just because they happen to know Shohei Ohtani. I mean, get out of here. I think that's the first name that this guy gave up when the FBI started talking to him. This guy, Matthew Boyer, who's the central figure in this bookmaking investigation. Don't you think that when they sat him down, Tony, it goes something like this, and they got the lights and they turn them on, they go, Mr. Boyer, you have anything to say on your behalf? You want to tell us anything? And he says, I got names.
Yeah, honestly.
And this is how the feds work. I mean, what do they want? They want publicity in these kind of things. They want to make the biggest deal out of it that they possibly can. And how do you do that? By ensnaring celebrities.
Go ahead. Did I tell you the story? My parents would bet $10 or $15 on the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
So they bet, year after year after year. They bet through me, and I'd call Sonny, and Sonny would place the bet.
Talking about the great Sonny Hirsch, the late great Sonny Hirsch.
Oh, that's funny.
So they win. So my mother and father are all excited, and they call me up. I'm at the office, and I'm sitting there, my legs kicked up, and I said, "Oh, Dad, that's great. Mom, they're both on the phone. They're telling me how much I'm going to get, and and at this point, I look up at the screen, and Sonny is being handcuffed.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah,
handcuffed and walked out. Yeah,
that happened to me also with the Sun Cruise, where I'd won a bet, and then I was going to have to go back to cash a ticket because they had like very briefly a sports book there. You probably covered this story. And so the Polyman and I went out on a cruise in the daytime. We won a bet on one of the late football games, but they had already come back inside the 3-mile limit, so they couldn't pay the ticket off then. And I turned on the news that night, and the guys that were running the sports book had the coat over their head, just like Sonny, and are being carted off. So whatever happened with that? Sonny, I don't remember him being convicted. Or was he convicted of bookmaking?
No,
Sonny?
He wasn't convicted. He was let go. But it was hysterical how
that's odd, man. I mean, what kind of luck is that, Tony? Your
luck.
parents, no less. Now, how do you tell them that they're not getting their money? Did you have to make good of this yourself?
I tell my parents, Dad, you're not getting the money. Why?
You sent him a picture of Sonny in handcuffs?
I said, turn on the news.
That's classic, yeah. That you actually had action when that occurred. That's great. God. The great Tony Segreto, right? I mean, imagine if the bigwigs over there at NBC had found out about that.
Oh, no.
We would have had Ohtani before it was Ohtani.
Ohtani,
yeah, go ahead.
Better. He gave up names, but I still think that they're making the fall guy in this case.
Oh, no doubt.
His interpreter.
Well, and then this guy turns out to be like the George Santos of interpreters. Fantastic resume that had none of it had any validity. And you're asking yourself, now these guys scrutinize everything. You're going to put a guy and make him essentially the running mate
Yep.
of your most important property that you have. You're paying this guy now. The Dodgers are giving him the $700 million, but it wasn't like he wasn't making money before from the Angels.
No,
And if you're the Los Angeles Angels, are you not going to at least somewhat vet out the guy that you're going to put in place to be this guy's interpreter? I don't know that Ohtani brought him on himself, but you wouldn't. You would have to think that there was some mutual accord between the parties to select a guy who was going to be essentially handling this guy the
And
entire time.
allegedly, he didn't vote on baseball. Please.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he did.
Yeah,
The story that we got was from a friend of ours who we think would have some kind of insight into this, and actually had contact with this bookmaker Boyer, and knew him, because he's in the gambling industry himself. And he said that Boyer supposedly intimated to somebody that he might have been in the hole like $25 million, and that all of his bets were on soccer. So there was no implication there that he had bet on baseball, at least not from these sources, and who knows what to believe. But the story just doesn't seem kind of like you were at that press conference. We always talk about the bogus press conferences here in South Florida that took place, where they're trying to sell you something that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and you were there. I mean, at any time did you believe that Don Shula woke up one day and said, "You know what? I'm going to walk into Wayne's office and tell him I don't want to coach anymore, and that he should give the job to Jimmy Johnson."
yeah. Oh, yeah. Plain and simple.
How preposterous! And they tried to sell us that.
They try to sell us that.
But at least they took questions that day. Although
it was a presser. I'm sure Don wasn't very happy about answering the questions, but at least it was a presser. I don't know what the Ohtani thing is. Just funny. Like again, all it does is make you have more questions. When a guy says, "I did not bet on," or he didn't even he did it in Japanese and had a new interpreter, so who knows what the fuck he actually was saying, and then he gets up and leaves. It's like, yeah, that's not sketch.
And the interpreter supposedly, he was on his phone the whole time on FanDuel making bets. that Messi wouldn't score in the next game that's played by Inter Miami. I don't know.
First of all, let me say this.
Yeah.
You would think that Ohtani would at least try to speak English. Now, he's getting paid all this money. He's playing an American game.
Well, he's been here years now.
Yeah.
And he was.
I don't hold that against athletes, though. I really don't, because if they ask me to speak Spanish, let's say, maybe I worked in a lot of kitchens. I picked up like 2 curse words, and that was about it. And yet, would it not have been advantageous for you too to be like fluent in Spanish, or with all the different Spanish athletes we've had to talk to?
My father was fluent in English, Italian, Spanish, and he was learning Chinese before he passed.
Yeah.
And he had the ability to learn, and he would teach me stuff. But to this day, I can't understand how athletes can float through. How can they float through the day? Baseball, 162 game season, living with every athlete, every baseball player you can think of, and still not speaking English.
Maybe he understands it. I mean, I've seen this. And you know what's funny, too, Tony, with social media now? I don't even know if I would want to venture into this if I was an athlete that, maybe had some ability to, A, understand English, and B, speak it. But look at this guy, Carlos Alcaraz, right? Which I give him a lot of credit. The kid was like 18 years old. He rose to the top of the tennis world as a superstar. And he spoke no English like a couple of years ago. And so now he speaks more than fluent enough English for you to understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
And people are ragging on him, like saying, that he looks stupid because, every now and then he says something, he's using bad grammar or whatever.
Oh, see that? And then that's why people like Ichiro and Ohtani don't do it. They're like, and Pacquiao, they're like, I'd rather just have an interpreter than instead of flub words and make it become a meme. Which is so stupid.
I mean, the world is especially cruel and lacking an understanding of that. So
appreciate them trying.
Yeah, I used to think that geez, how could the guy be in a country like 20 years and not speak English? But I understand that some guys are reluctant to go ahead and do that in public.
They don't want to get made fun of.
And then have people just harpoon them for it.
You would think that the Dodgers would, or whoever, whatever team it is, Yankees, would hire somebody to teach him every day a little bit. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse for it. I don't see it.
Pete Rose is saying all he needs, if he had an interpreter back in 1989, he'd still be in baseball. Talk about a fall guy, Tony. I don't know what's going to happen when somebody's going to get to the bottom of that story. But, I want to believe that Ohtani is innocent of this stuff. I really do. But
yeah, I do too. But I don't know.
Yeah, and the only problem he has, I guess, I don't know, is there some rule where baseball players are not allowed to bet, period, on anything, even through legal means? Because the issue would be that he was doing this illegally in the state of California through a bookmaker, and then, it's like, where did the money come from and all of that?
And none of it is on baseball, but still, it just caused enough of a shade on these players that they get up the bat and you wonder, I wonder if they're throwing the game.
I think that interpreter is going to show up as like the emperor of Japan pretty soon. They had to take care of him to get him to go away and just say, yeah, I did it. It was me. I figured Ohtani was going to vouch for me for the $4.5 million, so I ran up a little bit of a tab with this guy.
You got a point there. You got a point there because he's going to be the fall guy.
Over under Marlins 78. Tony, what do you think? Over under Marlins 78 victories for the season. What kind of team are they going to be? Do we know?
Under.
I go under also.
Under by a lot. I don't. Maybe
under by like a ton. No, I think you have that wrapped up in July.
Yeah.
You'll be trying to find out if you can cash your ticket if it's mathematically impossible for them to get that many wins. We'll see. Zero buzz though, Tony. You're in town. Does anybody ask you how the Marlins are going to do?
No, not one person.
Incredible.
People are stopping me to talk about the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
About Dolphins and just various sort of subjects, but nothing about the Marlins. Nothing. And
you wouldn't know we had a team.
They'd rather talk about the Yankees or the Red Sox.
On here, that's so funny.
That's true. Yeah. No. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds because there was always speculation like how could they not sell out opening day, but I would think that even with a small maximum crowd of like 37,000, they're not going to come close tomorrow because nobody gives a fuck unless they give those tickets away. But we'll be tuned in during the season. Our good friend Tommy Hutton, of course, makes the games worth watching, as does the entire broadcast crew. We love all of those guys, Greg Minervini and company. They do a terrific job, and
they do an awesome job.
I'll be watching. Yeah, I'll be watching.
Who do you like this basketball?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to see anything other than UConn, but
I think chalk.
I hate to go chalk all the way. It did seem. I mean, it was fascinating in the first day of the tournament. That was absolutely terrific, and then it kind of mellowed out a little bit in terms of playing according to plan. The second week, the second round, but. I don't know. I mean, fairly wide open, Tony, would you say? Who do you like in this thing?
UConn, you like you said, you hate to go with the chalk, but, UConn.
They just look better than everybody else overall, the way they're handling their business.
The women's side now, you could people are angling for the Iowa LSU game. So we'll see about that. But,
I'm a little tired of Kim Mulkey there. I would like to see her eliminated in the
me too.
In each round that they play.
Me too.
That whole business about the Washington Post, witch hunt.
What happened there?
Hatchet job.
God.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you have to be an asshole to be a successful women's basketball coach? We asked this question yesterday. Between Mulkey, I don't know what's up with Dawn Staley, but does she ever have a happy moment? Undefeated, number one team in the country, they're
what's the guy at UConn?
Oh, Gino Auriemma, yeah, one of my favorites. Just he seems like a very unhappy man for a guy that's been in that same job for like 35, 40 years.
God, he's just unhappy.
Yeah, miserable. Yeah, he hates everybody.
Unhappy. My God. You're coaching these girls, you coach them up, smile once in a while, but nothing.
Even when he's burying a team like 100-30,
Yeah.
he's got his starters in the ball game with a minute and change to
And he
go.
calls timeout.
Calls a timeout, yeah, and throws in another play, tells them to go ahead and shoot it. Yeah, I mean, not the most likable of characters there. People always wondered whether Gino could have coached in the men's game, but he never took on that challenge. And why bother, right? Guy's a god there in Connecticut. All right, we got to run now, Tony. So you're what? You're saying that Caitlin Clark's going to do it? What do you think?
I hope so.
All right.
Hope so, because it's a great story, and she's a hell of a player, and I like to see her do it.
Semifinal round, they get beat. That'll be that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I don't know why. I don't see them winning the championship. But this Caitlin Clark story is due to hit a brick wall at some point. As wonderful as it is, and like you said, Tony, I mean, I like it that your sport is getting some attention. These women's games, good. I have no problem with that. So that's been great. But I think somehow it's like they say in Cinderella Man, people die in fairy tales too. And I just think that this one's going to end up, what? Staley ends up beating her and never cracks a smile. Never. Mulkey ends up in jail. I don't know.
We'll do an over-under on smiles for Staley. And
why is she so miserable, Tony? Do you have any idea? Dawn Staley. She's had a nice career all the way around as a player, as a coach, as an analyst. I mean, she's been on everything. Nothing, though. I mean, doesn't seem to be able to live a happy moment. I don't know if I want to play a game that just makes me miserable.
Yeah.
All right, we got to run. Tony, you have a good one, man. Get yourself a Big Mac, large fries, a Coke, and a Krispy Kreme donut.
We love you, Tony.
Yes.
Does that come in a separate bag, or they throw it all in there together, all of that shit?
I have no idea.
Because if there was any warmth to the burger, it would tend to melt the donut down, too.
See you Friday.
We love
Very
you.
suspect. All right, we'll see you Friday. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. Are you really inclined to get a Krispy Kreme donut at McDonald's, Lubie? Would you even think or consider that? Now you're going to McDonald's in the first place.
It won't be fresh. Like how do you know? Like the whole point of getting is that it's fresh. Yeah. It's impossible for it to be fresh. It's not a Krispy Kreme.
Why not just eat an Entenmann's Day Old at that point?
Yeah,
no?
it makes zero sense.
Yeah,
people will do it obviously because people don't give a shit, but I wouldn't.
Interesting. I mean, but I think about what you're saying from a dietary standpoint. You're going to have this gooey Big Mac with meat that's extremely suspect, arouses suspicion of its origins. 3 pieces of bread on that thing, right? Because you got the Big Mac has three slices of bread alone.
Yes.
And then with a big thing of fries, just fried pure bullshit that you're putting in your body. And listen to me, Mr. Health over here, like I'm Jack LaLanne all of a sudden. But and then you're going to go ahead and down a Krispy Kreme, or are they considering that people are just going to get this stuff separately?
I don't know.
And would that not cut into their breakfast business, where you're buying these Egg McMuffins for like $6.99 now?
Exactly.
That used to be $1. Those were great. The McDonald's, did they do a biscuit thing also, where they have like this hideous sausage on a biscuit?
Like the sausage biscuit. I mean, their sausage actually is pretty solid, but
yeah, because that one seemed like it would lay in there like a brick. No,
everything's it's rough. It's McDonald's.
Did you know this too? That there's now 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics.
Oh God, really?
The U.S. didn't qualify to be in the original competition, which was at the 2020 games. Where was that? Tokyo. And so, yeah, Jimmer Fredette is the leader of our 3-on-3 team, the U.S. 3-on-3 team. It was just announced. Jimmer Fredette at 35 years old. So what are the qualifications? Is it like a 40 and over league or something? I mean, Fredette's 35.
I don't know.
Why wouldn't you just get like Kevin Durant and, a couple of NBA guys and play 3-on-3?
The good players are either in the Olympic team or they're not playing. Like I don't know. I don't understand these ridiculous sports or offshoots of sports.
Andy says we should try out.
There you go.
I would think my game would be extremely suspect at this point. I don't think I could stay with Jimmer Fredette, even with token pressure. All right, we got to run. It's been a lot of fun being with you. Later on today, what was decided there? Mayo from the home base?
We're at home, and tomorrow will be, I think, at Casa Calabria.
But very nice. Okay, man. That's a spectacular place. All right, we'll see you later on, 1 o'clock today with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox right here on South Florida Live and the Let's Eat South Florida page. You can pick it up there as well on Facebook. So, and that's where most people are watching the show. So Well, we hope to find you there later on today. And we say have a great morning, everybody, as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my